I'm looking at this today, and I'm thinking about this Pittsburgh drama, and I'm thinking about how much my life has changed, and I start wondering why. Like, why is this happening to me, and what really is the divide? Because it's not race, it's not religion. You know, my tribe has nothing to do with race. Like, I just had this great conversation with a guy on Facebook. This Hispanic guy in New Mexico who was like, you know, I'm an immigrant, but I love what you stand for. Like, what you say is like what I say and what I feel, and I'm just glad that we're part of the tribe. And I'm like, dude, the tribe isn't divided by race. The tribe isn't divided by. It's divided by. Well, I just said my tribe's smart people. Our convo was pretty short, but it's divided by people who embrace that there are rules and fairness and a burden and ups and downs in life, and people that do not accept that. And I'm about to really, really explain this. Because I was also listening to one of Stefan Molyneux's podcasts about, he was talking about gene wars and stuff like that. It was fascinating. And I'm not even going to touch on genes because I don't really know much about genes. But I do know about culture. And a lot of the stuff he was talking about is so true. And I think that people can really be broken up into prey animals and non-prey animals. You know, I think that the easiest distinction would be rabbits and wolves. But that's why I think we relate to the archetype of bear. Because it's less murderous, less pinpoint predator than a wolf. Like a bear can just eat honey and berries. You know, he's not physically designed to just hunt and stalk, but he can. He's got a big old bite. He's a big ferocious animal, but just kind of wants to eat the salmon out of the stream and impress his chick and then sleep the winter. And that's so much different than a rabbit. Because this is the thing about these people, right? They're so vicious, but it's like, it's not a type of viciousness that I respect or I'm fearful of at all. In a certain situation, I would be fearful of it, because prey animals are capable of the worst actions, the most erratic, the most chaotic actions. We have 4 dogs, ranging from like a little Chihuahua rescue dog with a scar on her head named Honey that my wife got before we met. Grown to love Honey, but Honey's a paranoid mess. And then, of course, big old George, a Great Pyrenees that I got from Isobear in Pennsylvania. And Honey is just around George. They get along a lot, but Honey she's fearful. She's a little tiny like dog that thinks things can attack her all the time. She's the most likely one to bite somebody, not George. George would never bite anybody. He's just a big old teddy bear. He would accidentally knock you down and potentially hurt you, but it's just to tell you how pumped he is to see you. You know, he may hunt an animal for food or like if you tell him to out of loyalty, but he's just not vicious. It's not chaos. It's just strength. And it's always the littlest dogs that are like, you know, when they feel backed into a corner, they just freak out. Because I've been feeling visceral hatred from these people, where they say stuff that you just can't imagine unless you read it, where it's like, your family should leave you, like you're a piece of shit, you're human garbage, you should burn like garbage, like I will never let you speak, like you're like just demonic things. Like people that I hate, I don't even conjure these things. I just don't know how you can look at a human being and think this, because there's no respect in it. Like some of the toughest guys I know, like Joe Rogan is a machine. Like Joe Rogan, when he like hugs you, you feel like, you feel like, I'm so glad that he follows fairness and ethics and rules, because at any point he could consume me like a food source. But you don't feel that like fear from Joe, because you know he follows rules. He follows a code. He knows right and wrong. He's not just a chaotic prey animal backed into a corner. Because it's not Republican, Democrat. It is binary. Don't get me wrong. It's binary. But these divisions are all not enough to explain it. Because as soon as you start seeing a trend with like races, then you see a million examples of that not being the case. As soon as you start seeing it with men and women, you'll see little trends, and then you'll be like, oh, but that isn't true. Okay, so it doesn't withstand testing. The one thing that withstands testing is this basic thing. Like, do you believe in a code of conduct? And hear me out, right? The people I associate with pretty much exclusively at this point, exclusively by choice. I can deal with leftists and be around them, but I would never choose to be around people that don't have any code of conduct. When you're around the people that I usually associate with, and I'm guessing pretty much all of the people watching this, unless some of those Pittsburgh guys are just watching for figuring out how to, like, I don't know, write another letter to Yelp or something. You would probably mock the left the way I mock the left, which is like pointing out hilarious contradictions in their logic and that they should be like embarrassed by that. You know, it's like, okay, you just convinced us that Donald Trump is Hitler, and now you want us to give our guns to Hitler. You just convinced us that gender is a social construct, but now you're convincing us that there's a wage gap based on gender. You just convinced us that we shouldn't put hormones in our food at Whole Foods, but we should put them into our kids. You just convinced us that, you know, a bakery that doesn't want to serve cake to a gay wedding should have to do that, but Twitter's a private company and can censor any customer they want, right? And so we expect this to be an act of shame for them, where it's like, look at your flaws. And the thing that a lot of people don't understand, that I've learned in the past few months, is they don't see that as bad. You know, like the way we think, it's always like, look at these mistakes they're making. Because they don't see the world as in a code of conduct or, okay, Malin, who talked about this, is a great way to describe it. There's people that get this dopamine rush of pleasure when they just get stuff for free. And whether they steal it or they just stumble upon it, or they earn it, or they lie to get it, it's the same thing. And then there's people like me that only get the dopamine rush when I accomplish the thing necessary to get that. Like if my father owned Netflix and he gave me 10 Netflix specials and I got $5 million a special, I would feel almost zero joy from that accomplishment. Like nothing. I would feel like a fraud. It would probably consume me. I would not enjoy that. You know, like the first time you kiss that girl that you've tried so hard to get and that you respect is more electric than the most hedonistic orgy of physically attractive people that you paid. For me. But there's other people that don't feel that way, that they're not trying to prove a point with logic. They're just trying to gain power and resources, and they're very scared all the time. Because I've noticed a trend. People will say stuff like, you're a racist. And then you'll see, I'll be like, why? And they'll be like, because you think you're above it all, and that you can say the N-word, and that you like saying the N-word, and you think you're better than everyone, so you can say the N-word. And I'm like looking at him, I'm like, do you think that that's what motivates everything I do? It's just animal pleasure, just that I can, that I feel I have the force over people or power over people so that I can do what I want, just piggishly. I wonder if it ever occurred to any of these people that there's a chance that there's people that exist in this world that do stuff that is uncomfortable for them because they know it algorithmically and with fairness has to happen.